It's time now for the all-new Animal Health Forum, brought to you by Paws Dog Training and Canine Behavior Center and Lake Chatoog Animal Hospital. And now your hosts, Ed Abel and Dr. Hilty Burr.
Morning, everybody, and welcome to Animal Pet Forum. We have Dr. Hilty Burr and myself, Ed Abel, and we welcome you this morning. We hope that everybody had a wonderful weekend last week for Memorial Day, and we're getting into the summer now. And along with summer brings that big, dreaded question of heat. Doc, because we see, I'm sure in your days when you were practicing, and we get it a lot now with our working dogs, the sun and the heat are killers of animals, and we have to be aware of that. I just read an article that said when it is 82 degrees outside, the car will reach a temperature of 125 degrees inside in under 6 minutes.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great way to start. I saw many cases of pets being left in the car, even if the wind is halfway down, with that sun bearing down, and they only perspire by panting. They're not like us that we can get rid of our heat by sweating. Pets require panting, a little bit of sweat off their paws, but not in their nose. But that doesn't really do much. So they really do get heat stroke easily and die easily. Once they start to show symptoms, a lot of times it's too late. But that's a good point. So be careful.
Absolutely. And, before we get going any further in the show, I want to just kind of mention some of our sponsors. And, of course, Chatoog Animal Hospital, great group over there. And, if you have any questions pertaining to heat exhaustion, heat stroke, I'm sure those people over there happy to help you out, as well as Dr. Burr here, if you want to send your questions pertaining to heat and shaving of dogs and all of those questions associated with summer, flea issues, internal, external parasites. Get your questions in because we'd love to answer them. As well as we have Blairsville Supply, which is where we get our dog food from. That is also a great source. General Supply.
Yeah, General Supply, right.
And that's a great place to go for things such as if you're cleaning your backyard out and you've had a dog that has had parasites, they have items there that you can put on the soil that will help curtail that, because just getting rid of the parasites for the dogs, even fleas, it isn't enough. You have to treat the area, especially with fleas. It doesn't do any good to spray your dog or dip your dog or bathe your dog and then put them right back out there when there's a flea problem, infestation. It has to be addressed at its root level. So please stop by and visit our friends over there at Blairsville General Supply. And
we got one more sponsor we better mention. That's your company.
Absolutely. Paws Dog Training and Canine Behavior Center. And, this is a great time of the year to get started. We have a lot of puppies. People have gotten puppies over the last few months. With COVID, relaxing, people are getting out more. It's a wonderful opportunity to get out, do some training with your dog, as well as socialization. We get stopped all the time when we're in Blairsville. The people at the coffee, Cabin Coffee, downtown Blairsville are wonderful. They let us sit out there with some of our dogs. There's the Hole in the Wall. Some great little outdoor cafes, Lucky's. Some great places downtown where you can bring your dog. Well, nobody wants their dog downtown if the dog is not under control and isn't behaving. So please look us up at Paws Dog Training and Canine Behavior Center. And our phone number is 888-840-3647 or dogs, or 706-716-9990.
Right. And then also another way you can reach us is animalhealthforum@gmail.com. You usually have guests or have guests a lot. This time we do have kind of a guest. We got a four-legged fellow you brought in with you. Tell us about Dino there.
Absolutely. We have a young man here who's 8 months old. His name is Dino, and Dino's a Borble.
I'm going to tell you that he's talking about a dog now when he says young man.
Dino's a Borble, or a South African Mastiff. He's been with us now for a few months. We've been doing training with him, and he is just a delightful
What do you train him for?
Right now, he's doing his obedience training, and he will be a personal protection dog. He is just over 8 months, and he's pushing close to 89 pounds. He's going to be a big dog. He's typical Mastiff. The Mollister breeds tend to be very large boned, large structure, weigh well over 100 pounds. We had the honor of training his uncle named Jackpot. And as you know, both Hudson and I go over 6'4". And when Jackpot stands on his hind legs, he looks at us eye to eye. So you can imagine a dog being 165 pounds and almost 6'4" on his hind legs. This is a dog that needs training. This is not a dog that you can just allow to his own vices. We want to make sure that we have him under control. So our buddy here is going through training right now.
Is that for an individual that you are? Does Dino already have a owner? Or?
Nope. Dino will be coming up for sale.
Okay.
Although it might be hard to get him away from me because he is living with us and he's doing really well.
Bonded with you.
Yeah, he's a really good boy, great natured dog.
I can tell he is. He's just over here sitting by. As you could see, if we were on TV, you'd see him have he's just looking at Ed with such loyalty and love. It's really a sweet sight to see.
I've asked Packy if we could get his picture so we can put him on the radio website so everybody could go on there and see how many hits he gets.
Well, that's good. And I do also, you mentioned Lake Chattooga Animal Hospital, and I know last show I was a little bit rushed to get in some of the information that they wanted me to share, so I'm going to do it right now. They really, fleas and ticks, like Ed mentioned earlier, we actually see fleas and ticks year round, but it's obviously worse this time of the year, in spring, summer, and fall, really. But this is time that people traditionally start gearing up if you're not been practicing prevention. So, and ticks too. Ticks are a big deal. A lot of they carry a lot of zoonotic diseases. That's disease that transmitted from ticks to people. Such as Lyme, Ehrlichia, Anaplasma, Babesia. So those are this day and age. Why take chances to get these diseases that can really be lifelong? So there's a new product out. I should mention called Saperico Trio. It is the first three product in one. Well, let me back up. It's got 3 different ingredients in it but it's in one tablet that covers all of the parasite areas that we're concerned about. That's fleas and ticks, heartworms, and intestinal parasites. So that's the first product that does that. So it's obviously a hot product. So check with your veterinarian. As I mentioned, Lake Chattooga Animal Hospital has asked me to mention it. She also asked me to remind you if your pet is at risk. He goes out on the trails or is out in the woods, or maybe even in a area where there could be potentially snakes like rattlesnakes or copperheads. There's a vaccine for that in my experience is very, very effective. And she also wanted me to stress that kitty cats are not being seen annually. They've been looking at their data, and so there's a little bit of a trend that the cats are not coming back for their annual exams, and that's a big mistake because cats can have diseases that are kind of hard to diagnose until you wait until it's obvious. So it's much better to screen them once a year. And then, of course, as most veterinarians, dental care is really an important part. Got to keep those mouths healthy because there's so many problems, not only discomfort and pain, but certain diseases that can transmit from the mouth into the bloodstream. So those are some health issues that we sure wanted to cover. Let's see. Every time we have a show, we check to see if we've got any questions. And I think you told me you did have another question. Someone had a question.
Yes,
I think we've got a couple of more minutes.
And we got a question this week from a young lady in Blairsville, and she is asking. She has a young puppy, a 14-week-old puppy, and her question was, "Is my puppy too young to start training?" What we tell everybody is, the younger we start training with a puppy and laying a good foundation, the easier it is for us to do the training. The difference between training a 14 or 15-week-old puppy, say, versus an 8-month-old or 12-month-old or an 18-month-old, it's the degree and the level of the training. And what I try to get through to people is that if you lay a good foundation for your dog, it's very much like building a house. If you have a good foundation, you can really build upon that and build a very big, spacious home. If you have a weak foundation or a foundation that isn't put down properly, it's going to crack and fall apart. Well, the same pertains to us when we're doing training. So we always tell people, get in as early as you can. Now, we start with our puppy training class at age 14 weeks. And the reason isn't because they're going to learn more at 14 than they can at 12. It's just that we want to make sure people have had their vaccinations, their puppy shots, and they've taken hold. This is to protect their dog as well as our dogs that are always around. And we want to make sure that everybody stays healthy. So training can start the minute you bring that puppy home. As a matter of fact, it does start the minute you bring your puppy home.
Right.
One of the other issues that we run into when we talk to people about early training is setting up boundaries for your dog. As we come into the second part of our show today, let's touch on that. We'll talk a little bit about what we mean by establishing boundaries with your dog.
Now, that's called a teaser. That's great. We'll take a break now, and then we'll have the second half.
Welcome back to the Animal Health Forum. Once again, your hosts, Ed Abel and Dr. Hilty Burr.
Okay, as promised, Ed, we were talking about getting your dog to start the training, and you were saying about certain conditions or needs about setting boundaries.
Absolutely. When we talk to people who have children, we always tell people you don't set your boundaries with your children when they're 14, 15, and 16. You set your boundaries with your children when they're 3, 4, and 5. Well, the same pertains to when we bring a dog into our house. And one of the issues that we see a lot of times are people that rescue a dog. They'll bring a dog in from a rescue. They already feel bad because this dog was given up by somebody, put into a rescue. So they bring the dog in and they start coddling the dog and, just taking it everywhere they go and just overloading with love.
Well, there's nothing wrong with loving your dog now, is there?
No, absolutely not. But just like your children, if we keep telling our children how wonderful they are and how perfect they are and how they do nothing wrong, right, and we keep giving them runner-up trophies for showing up, well, we see what the results are as they become adults. Well, the same thing happens with our dogs. When we bring a dog into the house, we want to make sure we establish very clearly for our dog what the boundaries are as far as housebreaking, the rules pertaining to furniture. Some people have no problem with their dog sleeping on the couch. Other people don't want their dog on the couch. I get this question a lot from people going, I don't like my dog jumping up on me.
Right.
But then I watch them interact with their dog, and they're always telling the dog to jump up on them.
Yeah, right.
And then you'll hear, well, I want him to jump up sometimes. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, the dog cannot decipher when mom is in her nice dress getting ready to go to church, and the dog has just been running out through the mud puddles,
right, and
then jumps on you. You really can't get angry at the dog because you've allowed the dog to do that behavior.
Yeah, they can't really read your mind, that's for sure.
Sure,
really
and
can't. They can read your sometimes your attitude, and you know what I mean. But that's a great point. So how do you set for example? I know how I set boundaries for my dogs if they jump up. Is I actually give them a quick little knee.
Most dogs that will work. However, there are dogs. Well,
some still think that's play behavior.
Like Dino,
though, right
here.
He thinks that's play behavior.
Yeah, Dino at almost 90 pounds at 8 months old, he thinks, "Oh, your knee. You must want me to climb on your knee to climb up to give you kisses in your face."
Right.
So we have to be careful what we do. Yeah. What we always try to get people to understand, first off, dogs are not anthropomorphic. They do not learn like humans do. It does not mean they're not intelligent. It does not mean they're not capable of learning. It does not mean they're not capable of loving. They very, very much are. But what we want you to do is keep things into perspective. When you're praising your dog or talking in a sweet, pleasant voice, the dog perceives that as praise. So if your dog is pulling you down the street and you're going, now, let's stop that. Oh, come on now, I don't like when you... The dog hears, yep, go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep going because I'm really happy with what you're doing. Great behavior.
Yep.
We have to learn how to know when to praise our dogs, when to give our dogs the attention.
Right.
I try to get people to appreciate the fact that when you bring a dog into your house, it is your house. It is your domain. You must set the boundaries and set the rules because if not, the dog is going to start to look at it from the standpoint of, yeah, I like it here. You can live in my house with me.
Okay, good. So that's really important. You've got to set those boundaries. That's key. So there's some discipline that goes into effect. You got to reward the good behavior, but at the same time, you have to just make sure they know. So you might want to address that briefly because I've got another question that somebody sent in.
Sure. One of the things that we tell people all the time.
How do you say when I say you discipline? How do you discipline a dog?
There are three things that we tell our clients. There's three things that you can do with a behavior. One, you can reward it. If you reward a behavior, you will get more of that behavior. The second thing is you can correct that behavior. But if you correct it improperly, guess what? You'll get more of the bad behavior.
Right.
And the third is to ignore the behavior. Now, anybody who's had children knows you have to pick and choose your battles or you'll be fighting with your little ones from 3 to 18. You have to pick the severity of what they're doing, and sometimes ignoring a behavior is better than feeding into that energy. It is all about energy. And Doc, I want to mention one last thing. We're actually do a podcast and a workshop on energy and how our energy and the dog's energy have to mesh together, how they have to work together.
Good. When will that be available?
We're going to be working on that over the next couple of weeks, so hopefully
we'll be able to tell them about it on the radio show.
It.
So we can tell them on the radio show.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I've got another question that I've got to get in here because this gentleman's going to get mad at me if I don't. This one came in on the Gmail account. It's Mark from Hayesville. And he actually says, I saw you at the mayor's yard sale day. And that reminds me, we got to be sure to tell everybody about the upcoming events. He says, I have a golden neutered male golden retriever. He suddenly became lethargic. He has no other symptoms. I've not changed his diet, and I have him on a good parasite program. What's wrong with him? I said, my good. Well, that's a toughie. I have to admit, because I don't have much to go on there. But if it's a 1-year-old male dog, there's still parasites. It's still something that I would consider. So he says he has on a good parasite program. I'd have to know more about that because there's so much diversity out there. But if he's on a good program that does include intestinal parasites, that probably rules that out. Now, if he's on heartworm preventive, that rules that out. So again, it could be that he's having some GI upset, just like people can have setbacks, just setbacks that come just from stress, or just sometimes they'll go outside and they'll eat something that's a little disagreeable. So he says, also I noted that it's a weekend, so his vet's not in the office, is what he says. So my advice would be, if he was to call me, I would tell him, well, if you're not using a parasite program, you might want to go to maybe the I don't know if that general supply people carry parasite products. They might. If they do, you could use a broad spectrum parasite, and if that resolved the symptoms and he didn't get worse, then that's probably what it was. But other than that, if he doesn't come out of it, and if he worsens, by all means, if he starts to have more severe symptoms, then he probably would need to go to Mountain Emergency Animal Center, which is in Blue Ridge, which is a wonderful facility that we set up to help people with after-hour calls during the weekend or late at night. So that's a great question. I wish I could tell you what's wrong, but I don't have enough information. One thing we got to be sure to do, Ed, if you don't mind, is mention the events that are coming up soon. One is our group, the E212 Entertainer 212 event, where we're bringing Bobby Horton in, who again is a wonderful musician, a multi-instrumentalist, historian. He can play anything with strings. He's just very good. He's a comedian. He's done work with Ken Burns. He does all of Ken Burns' documentary sound or music. Just a wonderful musician. And I think we have that date for July 23rd at the Barn in Young Harris. And we're going to send, if we don't have the date, we do have the date set, but we don't have the tickets available yet. But if you'd like to contact us and me or Ed directly, we can get you down, because it is going to be kind of a first come, first serve type of event. And all of the proceeds that after expenses will go to Ed's Working Dog Support Network. The other events, please, this is something you'll have a good time, because it's going to be it's going to be a gourmet dinner. This guy's a super entertainer. It's going to be, what's the title that you ended up giving us?
It's going to be Sweet Southern Nights.
Sweet
July
Southern Nights. Everybody's ready to break out. So that's really going to be nice. And then the other thing I've got to mention is we have another event that's free. This first event is not free, but we'll tell you more about that when you call us. But this event will be free, and it's on August 27th when we have Gnarly Fingers playing on Hayesville Square. And that's to raise money for the Celebration of Pets Foundation. And that's free, except we are providing food, but the cost of food will go to the nonprofit. We've got just a little bit of time left, not much. So we're probably going to have to. We have 2 minutes left. Really fantastic. I thought he said we had less than that, but that's fine. We'll go with what we got. So what else is going on, Ed?
Well, we're really excited, and Doc, we're lucky living up here in the mountains, and these communities from Blairsville to Hiawassee, Hayesville, Young Harris, all throughout this area. We could not ask for a better place to conduct a dog. Both our business as well as our nonprofit. We just love this community, and the support that we're receiving is just overwhelming. And, for the people, we're getting a lot of new people that are moving up here. Mm-hmm. And I hope that they will take the time to realize the great veterinarian services that are provided up here, the dog training, the pet supply stores. We have everything they have in the major cities, and I think we have some of it better. And, I'm often reminded of that when we're out working our dogs like downtown Blairsville or Hiawassee. People come out and they want to give the dogs water and treats and talk to us about the animals that we're training, whether it's our private obedience students or it's our service dogs. So we do ask, whenever you see us out, please don't hesitate to come up and say hi, or that you've heard us on the radio. When you see our sponsors, whether it's Chattooga Animal Hospital or Blairsville General Supply, where we get our dog food, because everybody asks us what we feed from dog food. It's a great store. Let them know that you heard about those businesses here on the radio show. We would really appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, it's great. Now, we're going to have some guests coming up. I think you said Old Henderson's going to be coming.
Yeah,
the sheriff
Ken Henderson, the sheriff of Towns County, will be joining us next week. And then also the Chief Deaton from the school police
County?
in Union County School Police.
Okay, cool.
These are two gentlemen that I can firsthand say that their level of professionalism is really amazing. And they support what we do up here, and their officers help us out quite a bit. So they'll be on the radio next week. I'm excited to have them on.
That's fantastic. Please send your questions to us at animalhealthforum@gmail.com.
And go check us out at pawsworkingdogs.org.